Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you all. We're going to be doing something a little bit more fun today, but we probably also need to get back to work on some of the systems that I've been trying to build out. So we'll see, but we're going to do something fun first. We're going to implement a new card. And I have some ideas for that. I think there could be something interesting that we could do here, but yeah, we'll check it out. We'll check it out in just a second. Anyway, you can wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. That's the game that I'm working on right now. And you can also join the Alchemortis playtest. So, what is it? Is it Tuesday? So yeah, the playtest runs until Friday. So if you haven't tried the playtest yet, definitely head on over to the Steam page and give it a shot. I would appreciate that. And then you can also join the Discord. That's linked in the description below. So check that out and leave some feedback for me. I'd very much appreciate it. You can also support the game on Patreon if you want. You can subscribe at this top tier for at least 1 month, and that will get you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, as well as in-game Alchemortis credits. So if you like those perks, if you want to support the game, definitely consider doing that. That helps out a lot. But you can also support me by purchasing one of my Udemy courses. The links for all those things are in the description below, so definitely check it out if you're interested. And what else? Yeah, I mentioned the Discord is down there. I don't know. All the ways that you could support me are linked below, so if you are so inclined, please check it out. And let's get right into it. Hello, Jhar. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Ito Makes Games. Good morning, TK. Welcome back. Junie, good morning to you. Welcome, welcome. Nathan San, howdy, hello, hello. Moneybags, welcome. Good morning, sir. Hope you're doing well. I am. Played the playtest and the improvement is brutal. It had good atmosphere and is a lot more fun. Awesome. Thank you, Ito. I appreciate that. Alchemortis Battle Pass when? Oh, goodness. Alchemortis Battle Pass. You were going to get a Nicki Minaj skin for your character in Alchemortis. Hello, Freedom Fighter. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Ninja Link, good to see you again. Jackie Daytona. It's time. It's time for Game Dev once again. All hail the giant mushroom, yeah. Welcome back. Good morning, Chris. Now we're talking, yes. Good morning, Anthony. Welcome, everybody. Okay, well, here's the mushroom. I drew this yesterday because I thought it would be cool to draw a giant mushroom, so I did that. And that's basically how Alchemortis is gonna go. Hey, it would be cool to do this thing. Add it to the game. That's it. Anyway, so we got a giant mushroom. It is another 2x3 card. So this is only the second 2x3 card, I think. Let's see. Oh, we have 3 2x3 cards. What's the other one? We have the Iron Maiden. We have the Giant Mushroom. There's 3? Oh, the squid, right. The squid. Thank you. The squid, right. I can't believe I forgot about the squid. I can't believe that. I managed to implement drag and drop double-click desktop icons for my Windows 95 theme puzzle game yesterday. Little wins feel nice. Yeah, especially something like drag and drop and double-click. Those are a little bit tricky. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to do that kind of stuff. So, is it a Dark Souls mushroom that swings with a right hook? Yeah. No, so I was thinking, I want to do something interesting for this one. I was almost thinking that it could do something like... Actually, let me fix some of this. I was almost thinking that it could do something like drop spores if this card is in the combat. So it would give you another card, like a spore card or something. And then you could do something with those spores. But I don't know... I don't really know what to do exactly. I'm just cleaning up some of these things here. So I was thinking the spores could transform into other mushrooms. Like you could maybe combine a certain number of spores to get another giant mushroom or something. Or the spores could just be things that scale with the giant mushroom. So if you put a spore next to the giant mushroom, it gives the giant mushroom some kind of additional capability, you know? Something like that. Do I want to do that? Maybe just that. Yeah, that looks good. So anyway, enough tweaking the art, I guess. Do I want to... Oh, wait a minute. Here comes the cat. I'm just tweaking this art. You know, you don't look at it for a night and then you're like, wait a minute, there's a bunch of stuff here that I want to fix. I think that's probably fine. One problem too is that I don't know what happened, but my eyes are like super dry and blurry. So I'm having a hard time actually seeing the colors here. But it's okay. All right, give me 1 second here. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Hello from Cambodia. Well, hello, Hong Money. Hello from Ohio. Make it inflict confusion effect that adds chance for enemies to deal damage to themselves. I already have that. Well, I kind of have that. It's called Hex. But it's not a chance to deal damage to themselves, it's just a pure damage to themselves. Maybe spores could be a reagent to add poison or something. Yeah, poison could work. Poison is a little bit strong right now, so I don't know if I want to put more poison into the game. Actually, you know what? I do need to update my my card inspection tool to be able to filter by ability type. Because right now I don't have a whole lot of visibility into what all abilities I have, so... Anyway, hello Tom. Been watching on and off for a good couple years. It's cool to come back and see you still working away at the indie dream. Keep it up, man. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the stream. At what point do you think a solo dev should even think about getting their Steam store page? I'm not an expert in these things, but I think... So the order that I approach things in is I create a good like vertical slice of my game. So just make it well put together with a very thin amount of content, but enough variety that you can kind of see like what the full game is going to be like. And then it's easier to create a Steam page from that when you have that much in the game. So, but yeah, I just don't know. I'm not an expert in these things, so. I think the common wisdom is throw up a Steam page as soon as you can, basically. I think that's the conventional wisdom. But the way I approached it is I created kind of like a vertical slice. I got, I got enough in the game where I could actually create like some different screenshots and a trailer and all that stuff. And then I created the Steam page, but the Steam page, again, like everything, that's going to be, for me anyway, it's going to be an iterative process, right? Like the version of the Steam page that's up right now is not going to be at all what the Steam page looks like as we get closer to release. I just wanted to have, something up that looks somewhat appealing that I can use to collect wish lists, basically, right? So, anyway. I don't know. Okay, that looks better to me. I don't know, I should probably just stop messing with this. Stop messing with this and actually add this to the game. Okay, anyway. Just a little bit of cleanup, that's all. Hello, V, welcome back. The left slope looks blocky. Is that only close up? The left slope. This one here? Or this? The middle part. I don't know. It's hard to figure out. The mushroom looks really good, thank you. Hello, Wooius, welcome back. Made my Steam store page way too long ago. I probably wouldn't make a Steam page until you're ready to market the game. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not an expert on that. Hello, Bad Tutor Nick, welcome. Pretty sure somebody have already asked, but anyway, why have you chosen C# over GDScript? Just personal preference. C# is easier to build. The systems that I'm trying to build, using C# makes it easier to build the systems I'm trying to build. Common wisdom is, as he stated, make one ASAP, but my personal experience is that I could have waited way longer. Maybe the advice would be to make Steam page as soon as you have $150 or whatever. Hello, Arion, welcome back. That's a huge mushroom behemoth, yeah. I think I'm not close to having a version I would be happy giving as a slice out of the world. I think probably when I'm happy, I could put together a decent video and art for the store. Yeah, I mean, I think you just need to have it up for a decent amount of time so you can collect those wish lists. All right, well, maybe there's still some improvements to be made here, but I think it looks okay for now, especially with the card background in place. I think it'll be okay. So we'll see. I mean, I think it looks okay in the game too. So if I export and I go into the game, the smaller mushroom on the left looks dubious. Yeah, it's just yeah, pixel mushrooms. I think it's supposed to just give the impression that it's a mushroom. It's not supposed to be totally accurate. Oh my gosh, don't close, please. There we go. So I think in the game, oh, dubious means, oh, I know what you mean. I know what you mean now, Bantam. Anyway, yeah, but I think it looks okay in the game. Maybe there could be some smoothing out on the left edge here. Maybe that's what you were talking about, Chris, but I think it's okay. Anyway, so we want to give this a certain type of ability here. I've had my Steam page for 2 years and I have 4 wish lists, most of which are for my homies. Take that for what it's worth. Yeah, I mean, the Steam page isn't going to market itself. Like, the Steam page being up early doesn't, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't, like, there's nothing that Steam does about that. It doesn't say, oh, this page has been out for 2 years, so time to promote it. It's just mostly so that as you start your marketing efforts, people have somewhere to go where they can register their interest. So I think for me, it was important to get a Steam page relatively early because I'm streaming this game every day and I'm making devlog videos of it. So, you know, imagine if I still didn't have a Steam page at this point. Like, I only have like 2,000 wish lists right now, but if I didn't have a Steam page at all, then I would be in the whole 2,000 wish lists. That would be the alternative, right? So it's probably situational, but again, I don't know. But anyway, Side question, what are you using to pop the chat messages up? It's called Social Stream Ninja. It's called Social Stream Ninja. I'm sure for someone like Fiber, having a page early makes a lot of sense. Yeah. A little... Yeah, I got you, Bantam. Do you stick to a certain canvas size for all of your items you draw in-game? Or just draw it until it looks good, but still pixel art vibes? Well, I do have size constraints, right? So, like, if I have a 2x3 card, that has to be a certain size because it's got to fit in a 2x3 grid. So, yeah, that's it. Now, as far as, like, what do I decide to do originally before I decide what the grid size is? That was just vibes. That was just vibes. I hope to have my game ready to play test and show off at a real capacity by July, and the plan is to drop it by the end of the year. Plans could divert a tiny bit, but that's the goal. It's a good goal. Landscaping survivors. Very nice. You can promote, yeah, you can put your, you can put the name of your game in the chat. I don't have a problem with that. Obviously, you know, don't want people to just come in and spam, but if you are asked about what your game is, you could definitely respond. Yeah, that's totally fine with me. You could share your games in the Discord as well. We just don't want spam, right? So don't come in and just like paste your link 5 times and then leave. But yeah, for sure. If it comes up, definitely mention it. Yeah. Yeah, this is a collaborative chat. You can definitely share your own work here. Oh, I didn't know if you scaled them after importing them or not. Makes sense though. Yeah, no, they're just normal scale, a scale of 1. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hi, buddy. Hi. Oh my goodness, this cat. What are you doing, buddy? You're kind of cute. You're kind of cute. You're kind of cute, buddy. Oh my goodness. Anyway. So Chris just sent me a message in Discord showing the area he was referring to. Let's see. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, that could probably use some cleanup. Maybe we'll go back and clean that area up in a second here. My game is finally almost bug-free after a month. The game dev chat, cat sighting you. I like that it looks like he has a little hair on his face. Yeah, he does have a little hair on his face. He does have a little hair on his face. He's a cute boy. Anyway, so I want to do some kind of spore with this and make that spore given to you. So let's just do that first before we can do that before we figure out what the abilities are going to be. I think it would be cool to make the spore scale off of the giant fungus. The fungus gigantus, as it's called in game. So let's do a little 1x1. Let's do card creation tool. Let's do a little 1x1 giant mushroom spore. I don't know how in the world I'm ever going to draw a spore, but let's just try it. But this is going to be one of those things again where you can only get it from the giant mushroom. So I think that'll be cool. Hello, default palette. Okay. How are we going to do spores? I wonder if I should do... Maybe I should make them a little bit... Maybe I should make them a little bit bigger here. So if I do like this... This... And then... Okay, we will see how we can get this to work. Okay. I have no idea if this is going to work well. I mean, I guess it's kind of all right. Wonder if I... I mean, it's actually not terrible. Do this one down here. Just trying to make them a little bit different from each other at least. So, yeah, no, something like that. I mean, it's not... Again, the big thing with pixel art is that you just want to give it... You want to give the impression of what you're trying to draw. And so it doesn't need to be perfect. So, I mean, does this look like a bunch of little shiny spores? I mean, if I just showed you this art, you would probably say, I don't know, maybe it's seeds or like little metal balls or something. But when I attach the word spore to the title, then I think you'd be like, oh yeah, that works as a spore. You know what I mean? So it's not perfect. If I showed you this, you'd be like, what are those? But I don't think, honestly, if you showed somebody a picture of real spores, I don't think most people would like know that those are spores, you know? Like if you just showed them a picture of spores and you said, hey, what is this? They'd be like, I don't know. Are those like, is that bug poop? What is that? So anyway, these are the ways that I rationalize away the fact that sometimes I can't draw what I'm trying to draw. So we'll just roll with it. Giant mushroom spore, 7 dimensions 1 by 1. These can be alchemical, and we can also make these. Alchemical's fine. I think maybe we'll give the giant mushroom the ritual tag as well. Actually, let me look at my card statistics tool. We have 30 ritual cards, 13 reagents, 10 weapons, relics. Actually, we have a lot of ritual cards. Oh my goodness. Maybe I won't put the ritual on this then. So what we're really missing is weapons and relics. So we got to focus on that next. But anyway, so I've got the giant mushroom spore. Let me catch up on chat here. Planning on recording my cats and using their noises in my game. I'm not sure how to hook up a mic to them though. Yeah, that's like the definition of herding cats. So what you're saying is this will be a more reliable way to get free cards compared to the spiderlings. Yes, but I think... Is it going to be a more reliable way? I think it's actually going to be equally reliable because it's going to reward after each combat too. Actually, maybe I should change that. Maybe I should change when you get the spores, but we'll do. Put one of those tiny mics on their collar. Just draw the logo of the Maxis Game Spore. I like to believe it's at least a 10 wishes kind of game. The real problem is that no one can play it yet because I am too much of a coward to release a demo soon though. Yeah, I mean you have to face your fears, you have to be brave, but also you don't want to do it before you're ready, but I don't know what that means, the tasteful thickness, but welcome back to the stream, or welcome to the stream. When I see spores, it usually reminds me of a puff of smoke or something, yeah. Those are everlasting gobstoppers. The canvas balance is bugging me. Cursed M&Ms. I agree drawing spores in that small of a box is interestingly difficult. Creativity comes from constraint. That's true. Difficult. Ooh, that's a good one. difficult or difficult. Maybe if the spores were on a leaf. Well, it's a fungus, right? Funguses don't have leaves. Hello, Llama Toast. I understand now. I'm lost. Sometimes I'm lost with the chat, but it's all right. The game Spore was freaking dope. I remember when Spore came out. I never played it. But anyway, so we got to figure out what we want this to do. I know that I want to reward the Spore at some point. Maybe we'll just start with the combat reward. So that's actually going to be kind of tricky. I don't know if I have anything. Let me look at my Hell Spawn egg. Oh, you know what? I just remembered something too. So in this game, there are some abilities that cannot be alchemized. So for example, the Hell Spawn egg, right? The Hell Spawn egg has an ability that says this will hatch after 4 combat victories, right? But if you were to use the Hellspawn egg in alchemy, that ability cannot be put on any other card. And there's currently no indication of those kinds of abilities. So I want to add some kind of visual indicator for non-alchemizable. Add some kind of visual indicator for non-alchemizable abilities, and this is quality of life, content. So the giant mushroom is going to be the same way. Whatever ability actually generates the spores is not going to be able to be alchemized on something else. Now, I mean, you can make an argument that maybe that shouldn't be the case, but in the case of the Hellspawn egg, it makes perfect sense, because if you put that this item hatches into a different card, and it's on, like, you know, a chicken or whatever, that doesn't really make that much sense. Maybe chicken was a bad example, but the other problem with the Hellspawn egg is, like, if you were to put that card or that ability on a different card that is not a 2x2 card, then it could potentially break, because when it transforms, it deletes and removes the egg from your inventory, and it puts the imp right back. And that's guaranteed to work because the imp is the same size as the egg. Now, I do have that card overflow system, but anyway, I think it's fine to have abilities that can't be alchemized. I just think they should be few and far between. So we got the giant mushroom spore, and we got the giant mushroom. So let's take a look at the Hellspawn egg. Combat victory transform. Combat victory provider. Post combat victory. Post combat context. Where is this being set up? Okay, so we've got some refactoring to do here. So let's see. So the combat victory provider. Combat victory listener. Combat victory listener. Okay, so what we can do then, combat victory. I think I need this post combat victory. Where is this? Oh wait, here we go. On combat victory card, for each of our cards on combat victory. Okay, All right. So I think this is probably what I want to do. I don't think I want this post-combat victory here. Final implementations. Let's get rid of that. We're going to get rid of that. Combat victory listener. We're going to change, or we're going to copy this. And I guess we'll just create a new file. How do I create a new file? All right. Post combat victory listener. Post combat victory listener. On post combat victory. Okay, get all flattened abilities for each of our ability in abilities.of type. Post combat victory listener. Oh, and then I need to put the context in there. Post combat context. On combat victory. Why is this? Okay, that's probably all right. Okay, so we've got the post combat victory listener. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another ability in here. So let's go ahead and do another ability. New generic post combat victory listener. I thought I had more generic kind of abilities than this, but that's all right. Action, post combat context, action, generic post combat victory listener. Okay. Base card ability, post combat victory listener. Okay. So we've got that post combat victory listener there. I probably broke my, I broke this post combat victory. This is, can I do post combat victory listener? So I'll have to test the Hellspawn egg and make sure I didn't break that. But we've got this generic post-combat victory listener now. So what I can do in my giant mushroom is I could do that. So var post-combat victory listener. So go to new generic post-combat victory listener. Context. And so we're going to be able to do stuff in here. Now the card overflow manager, I probably don't want to reference that in here. So we'll figure that out. We probably need to add more context as well. But what we can do private const string spore ID is equal to card ID giant mushroom sport, not sport, giant mushroom sport. That's kind of funny. Ability post combat victory listener. Description func. Awards a Oh, I'm probably going to need to private static read only card definition resource spore card definition is equal to card definition card registry dot from ID spore ID awards a spore card definition dot display name card after combat victory, I guess. Okay, let's do this now. Card ID constants generator. Oh, don't crash, please. No. Okay, it crashed. Going back in. Hello, Just a Janny. Welcome, welcome. Spore had some really cool ideas. The game is a lot harder now. Really? I heard a lot of people say it was easier. Or maybe... Oh, maybe it is harder, actually. What if the text is glowing, it can't be alchemized? Glowing is an interesting idea. I can't use Gaussian blurs, though. Number one, that wouldn't look good, and number two, that violates my rule that every pixel drawn to the screen has to be one of the 8 colors in my palette. So I can't do any kind of blurring. What are the unalchemized abilities? Are there indicators for that? Not yet, no. In SMT Persona, the more powerful demons have unique abilities that cannot be passed on to other demons through fusion. That makes certain demons more appealing to fuse as a goal. Hello, Seattle. We're here to host the biannual giant sports event. The only event where you get to see basketball players that are taller than the hoop. Nice. Hello, Cody XT. Welcome. I'm playing the playtest right now. I'm trying to make a healing build. I have always almost full HP. Nice. All right. So what was I doing? This dang crash. ID constants generator. Okay, so the card ID should have put the giant mushroom and giant mushroom spore there, as well as the witch hut. That's good. Okay, so we got the giant mushroom spore. Actually, I guess I don't need this spore ID here. It's kind of not necessary. All right. Goodness gracious. So the post-combat victory listener. So now this is where I actually need to create the spore here. So... I guess I need more context. But I could just do... Oh, these are static methods anyway. All right, well, maybe it's okay. Maybe I could just do card overflow manager dot add cards to overflow. Card factory dot create card spore card definition true. Okay, is that it? Let's see if that works. Don't have any room on the board for the giant mushroom. Okay, we'll just go here. Obviously, we're going to give the giant mushroom that, but let's see if this works. So I'm going to get my combat rewards and put this over here. And now I've got my spore, giant mushroom spore. Look at that. Boom. And it just works. And it just works. Now I also want to make sure that the hellspawn egg still works. Let me just make sure that I didn't break that. Is that what I called it? Yeah, I called it Hellspawn Egg. Lambone Ring is now my favorite card. You like it? The funny thing about that, I think I saw a post on Reddit, like a butcher or something had taken a lamb bone and made a ring out of it. And I was like, oh, that's so metal. I'm going to add that as an item to my game. And so I did. Okay, yeah, that seems to be working. Well, it's still tracking the victories, but... Oh! Oops. How is that? Okay, that's still awarding... Oh, interesting. It needs to be in the combat board. Okay. So it needs to be in the combat board for that spore to be generated. So we'll take a gander at that. Okay, so the imp is still hatching, that's good. So how do I actually want to do this? All boards, select get cards on board ordered by priority. Create post combat okay, let's do this then. Post combat context, let's do a record here. Actually, do I want to do that? Player combat board is equal to board manager, get player board, and then player inventory board is equal to board manager, get player inventory board. Let's make this a record. And then we'll do public required board. Okay, and then since this is a record now, what I can do in my board manager is I could just do var base context is equal to context helper create post combat context, and then we'll do base context with base card equals card. Okay, that should work. Alrighty, and then what I can do is I can use that now to check my logic in here. So if I go to my giant mushroom, what I could say is if context dot player combat board dot board inventory component dot has card context dot base card is not equal to true, then we will return this. Okay, so that should work. That should work. Let's try that again. Not gonna lie, it being in your inventory and working is actually pretty cool. Would be nifty to have a few cards like that. Yeah, well, that's how the Hellspawn Egg works, but yeah, definitely could add more. So I'm gonna have to change the wording, I think, a little bit. So this says hatches after 4 combat victories, and this says awards a giant spore card after combat victory, but they work differently, right? This one tracks it all the time, and this one only works if it's in your combat board. So I'm definitely gonna need to figure that out, but anyway, let's just see what we could do here. Spore, and then if I swap this out, I shouldn't get a spore anymore now. Yeah, no spore. Okay. Cool. So that wording is just not super clear. So we're going to have to figure that out, I suppose. Why does card sometimes have no or surely one negative thing when being alchemized? Is it random? No, there's a card stability system which was not explained in the tutorial. But basically, the smaller the card is, the fewer abilities it can support before you start accruing negative abilities. So larger cards can support far more abilities on them without accruing negative abilities, whereas small cards cannot support that many at all. Like in the Bazaar, some of my favorite cards give you more cards even when they aren't sitting in your inventory. The new cards aren't always super useful, but I let them eat up my inventory space for a chance of getting something neat. Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, we could definitely do stuff like that. Is apply holy to enemy a negative effect? Yes. I have a very stressful morning today. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope everything is good now. Never knew about record types. Might be time to go down a mini rabbit hole. Yeah, records are good. I mean, they have a couple of special properties apart from classes, but the main reason why they're useful is that you can duplicate them a lot easier and change just like one or two properties. So that's why I used a record here, because what I can do is I can take all of that base context that's created here. So like the board manager, player combat board, board manager, player inventory board, and then all that's changing in between invocations of this on combat victory is like what card is being invoked. So you could just do base context with, and then, you know, change whatever properties you want. And so it will copy all of the unchanged properties over into the new object with the new property, which is really nice. So anytime you can use a record when you need to like duplicate or slightly change some piece of data, it's very helpful. Very helpful indeed. Thanks for explaining. Now it makes sense. Yeah, you're welcome. Definitely needs to be explained in the game for sure. All right. So I guess we can figure out the language later, but let me write that down just to be sure. Okay, so content, so we need to do flavor text, differentiate description enough from hellspawn egg. We also need the abilities. Giant mushroom spore, flavor text, abilities. All right, so now we got to get into the meat of it, which is what abilities should these things actually have? So we'll synchronize that, push that all up. Hello, thank you. I hope you have a nice day as well. That's super useful. Definitely going to be using that in my project. Yeah, it's been very useful in Alchemortis because like I use context objects all over the place. So basically just objects that contain all the relevant data for whatever operation I'm doing. And in a lot of cases, like with my artifacts, for example, I will want to modify a context. So I've got like my apply status context. And that apply status context has like how many stacks am I applying, right? And what's the status type? And what I can do is I can intercept that context before it actually gets applied in the status component in the artifacts, and then the artifacts can modify that however they want. So it could completely change the type, it could completely change the stacks, it could change the target, and then, yeah. It's really easy to just duplicate that apply context object with all of the unchanged state and then just change one or two of the fields or the properties or whatever they're called. Everything is fine now. This morning, my house keys fell off my wrist on the way to school. I made it close to school before realizing I had to go back and find it again. Well, I'm glad you found it. That could have been bad. That could have been bad. Hey, that's always a relief, though, when you think that you've lost something and you go back and you find it. That's a good feeling. Been under the weather the past couple of days, was able to play test a bit to date. Catch the stream. Nice. Well, I hope you feel better soon. And welcome back. Is preserve some kind of guard? Yeah, it's shielding, basically. Hello, Smash Wall Dev. I saw that your shorts have a lot of views. Why don't you make more? I'm going to make more, yeah. It's just, everything takes time, and I have to build this game, too. Making videos, every hour I spend making videos, an hour I can't work on Alka Mortis. Although I know it's all part of the same thing, right? I also don't understand why some nodes were free after I defeated the first boss. Yeah, the map is going to be changed, I think. I need to come up with a better... I just need to make the map a little bit more sensible. I mean, I like the fact that you can navigate around the map, but the systems that are designed to keep pushing the player upward are not actually... I don't think they're, number one, they're not that clear, and number two, they don't apply that much pressure. So, yeah, I think I just need to sit down and think about that a little bit more. I need to make the map traversal even more interesting than it is already. So maybe I'll do some kind of a radical change, because originally what I wanted to do is kind of just make it like a free roam kind of thing where you could just backtrack to your heart's content and just go wherever you want. But the problem is, how do I actually get the player into some kind of progression for the map? So anyway, I have to think about that. I have to think about that. All right, so what kind of abilities should we get the mushroom? So here, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, but I will leave you with a question. So we have the giant mushroom card. Right now, its only abilities... Right now, its only ability is to award a giant mushroom spore card. And actually, that should change. This needs to be Fungus Gigantus Spore. So it awards a spore after you defeat an enemy with this on your board. I wanted to have some kind of synergy between the fungus and the spore, I think. We could even do something like the spore will grow into a Fungus Gigantus after a certain amount of time, or maybe if you use the spore in alchemy, it will transform into a Fungus Gigantus or something. Or if you use 4 spores in alchemy, it transforms into a Fungus Gigantus. We could do something like that. I was also thinking that this could scale based off the number of spores that are adjacent to it, or the number of spores that are on the board. So anyway, yeah. So we need to come up with some kind of synergy between these two things. And we'll figure it out. But yeah, that's the brainstorming task in front of you. Give me some ideas for how you want this card to work, and how it should work with the Fungus Gigantus spores, and what the spore ability should have, and all that good stuff. And I'll be right back in just 3 minutes, and we'll continue on. All right, I'm back. Hello, everybody. It is me, your favorite niche e-celeb, and all of that good stuff. I've been maintaining like 4 different duplicate methods around my project. It'll feel so good just to call them, so thanks for that. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Once you get a build going, you can go across the entire map if you really wanted to, especially if you avoid most battle paths. My first playthrough, I assumed moving backwards would penalize me. Visiting cleared nodes penalizes you. You know, I mean, I guess there is a... I don't really want to do this. I kind of like the free roam nature of the game, but one way to kind of make the map a little bit more focused and push players into the northward progression more is to take a Slay the Spire approach, where instead of this being like an interconnected web, like everything's just basically going upward, and you have some ability to crisscross over to different lanes, but you can't like backtrack at all. Now, I don't want to do that. I like the way that this game is working with the more free roam nature of it, where here's all the nodes on the map. But there's there's a bunch of problems like first of all, it's not immediately obvious that you need to keep moving northward. There's not a whole lot of pressure to do so. That's one problem. The other problem is like if you trigger a boss fight down here somewhere and you haven't yet found a checkpoint, then you got to spend a bunch of time trying to go up and find it. So I think there are definitely opportunities to streamline this, make this a lot more intuitive, while also preserving sort of like the free roam nature of the game. I mean, the other option too is that instead of making the whole map one giant interconnected thing, you just do like one region at a time. So, you know, instead of having all 3 regions available at once, you just do the first region, you fight the first boss, and then it transitions you into the next region. And so each region is like its own little free roam thing without being connected to each other region. I don't necessarily like that either. I kind of like the map being all one giant thing. But anyway, that's a problem for another day. How many bosses are there? There's only 3 right now, but there will be more on release. Maybe after a few wins, those spores could turn back into mushrooms with new random modifiers. Or what if it's unique and the fungus could mutate into a couple different kinds of mushrooms? Yeah, I could do multiple kinds of mushrooms. That's obviously going to be a little bit more work, but depending on what you mix or depending on what you fight difficulty-wise. Artifact idea, Death Wish. Instead of sacrificing cards on death, lose half max HP and heal for that amount. That is an interesting one. Maybe the fungus gigantus has a unique interaction when alchemizing with a spore as a reagent. Like it applies X status stacks for each spore you've alchemized with it, but have a different effect for cards alchemized with it that aren't fungus gigantus. Yeah, that could work. Something like, yeah, I could make these spores reagents, like a unique reagent that can only be gotten from this fungus. That's kind of an interesting idea. So instead of these being a combat-oriented card, they could be a reagent with some kind of special property. My only thought with the notoriety is that I never really got a checkpoint before hitting 100. First time I was a bit surprised that the checkpoint was then empty. Yeah. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to reward the player for going to checkpoints early. So back to Ito's question, like why are the nodes free after beating a boss? The nodes are free for beating a boss for 2 reasons. One, if you get caught in a region without visiting a checkpoint, and the boss just kind of like intercepts you automatically, then you have a couple of free moves to get closer to the second region before the first region becomes overrun with those eyeballs. And then the other side of that system is that if you fight a boss early, you get a bunch of free moves into the next region. So you could kind of like advance into the next region a bunch before starting to accrue the notoriety penalty. I don't think that system works for, like, this is what I mean. It's like, I like the map and I like how the individual traversal decisions make, but like the overall like structure of the system of the map and how it incentivizes and disincentivizes certain player actions, it's just not there. It's not quite like, yeah, it's not quite there, I don't think. Feel a region that provides a random or unique ability would be cool. Maybe the spores do that and the fungus works like a dead or weak grid space for long-term potential. Yeah, maybe we'll make it a reagent. Artifact idea, Old Blood. Alchemical cards that execute apply 1 stack of bleed. Oh, interesting. Good morning, Stray Pointer. Just jumping on now, but meant to ask, is notoriety a good thing or a bad thing in this game? It's a bad thing. Never understood what the checkpoints are, it doesn't say. Yeah, so I just need to like do a lot of thinking on the map and see if I can change it, but I think it's going to be kind of a tough design problem. Anyway, so yeah, let's make this a reagent. Let me just look. Let's see. Do I have any interesting reagent ideas? I need to split this up. But anyway, alchemical reagent. Crit malt makes alchemy free. Guarantees lowest turn cooldown. So these are no longer relevant. Guarantees lowest turn cooldown. Guarantees smallest card. These are no longer relevant. Chance to add echo. I already have one that adds echo, so we're going to get rid of that one. Has a chance to double or nothing currency. Removes a random ability from the input pool. Let's see. Convert shield to fire. Change all keywords. Removes negative abilities from inputs. I already have that one. This is kind of redundant. We already have that in place. Exclude abilities of type grant residue when used as a single alchemy input. Modify turn cooldown. I already have that one. Strip abilities from output. Reagent that absorbs stat and can have that stat reapplied to another card. Oh, maybe we do this one. Reagent that absorbs abilities and can be reapplied to other cards. Ooh, maybe we do that. So the idea here is that we could transfer a stat onto the spore, for example. So imagine you have a crit multiplier that you want, but you don't necessarily want to use the card that the crit multiplier is on. So we could have the spore, for example, absorb the crit multiplier. And then when you use it, so the way that it will work is that you have the spore, it absorbs the highest crit multiplier, let's say, of the input card or whatever. And then the alchemy spits out a spore that now has that property on it. Like, 50% crit chance or whatever. And then you can use that spore in the next alchemy to add that crit to a card of your choosing. That might be one of these abilities. One of these. So either absorb an ability or absorb a stat, like turn cooldown or whatever. Maybe ability would be more appropriate for the spore because you are getting a lot of spores. So maybe the idea is that we absorb a random ability onto the spore from an input card, and then that ability becomes guaranteed as that ability will guaranteed be added to the next card that you apply it to. Maybe we do something like that. It's crazy how much work you've gotten done in a few months. Yeah, it's crazy how much work I have because all of you will not stop giving me feedback. Like, I'm trying to finish the game and you guys are just being rude and saying like, here's all the things that are wrong about your game. Can't believe it, dude. Can't believe it. Trying to finish the game here. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. I don't want you to take that seriously. Yes, send me your feedback. This game should be as close to perfect as possible when it releases, and that can only be done with your feedback. Welcome back, Monkey Software, by the way. A shop item for something like Golden Ticket or whatever allows you to bypass the checkpoint. That way you can enter another region ahead of time, but you still need to fight the boss. As in, you fight the boss once notoriety maxes. That would be dope for spores. Yeah, I think maybe we'll do this one. The Golden Ticket idea is good. I don't want to do any more map-related artifacts until I figure out how I'm going to change the map. I really don't I just don't have any ideas at all. I've been thinking about how to change the map for a couple of weeks now, and I just don't have any good ideas. So yeah, maybe I'll have to figure out how to brainstorm that. Probably need to just sit down and like write down what my goals for the map are, and then figure out how to incentivize the player or push the player into those design goals. But anyway, let's do this. Let's make this an alchemical reagent that absorbs a random ability. Oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be really hard. Oh, this is going to be really hard. But I think it's going to be cool. Composed, new full alchemy, absorb ability. I wonder if I should make this alchemy. So I actually probably want to use this in conjunction with this absorb ability. Ability list provider. Where is this used? Probably going to want a different ability here. Oops. Composed ability list provider. Namespace game.data.ability. Composed ability list provider. Base composed ability. We'll change this to composed abilities. Get base composed abilities, I think. Yeah, we'll do that. Base composed abilities. So we got the composed ability list provider. We're going to put this in here. Abilities.add. Composed ability list provider. Right. So this actually needs to support a query target provider. So let's do that. I guess it makes sense to do this. Equals query target provider dot get cached targets dot select many get base composed abilities. Okay. So we'll do that. And then in here, alchemy absorbability, we will do composed ability list provider, that, add new composed ability list provider. This may actually need to be stored at this level. Composed ability list provider. Apathy. If we don't take care of the customer, maybe they'll stop bugging us. Yeah. Motivational posters. One thing I noticed, and not sure if it was intended, I cleared everything around an obelisk without interacting with it, and then have the obelisk transform already visited nodes into new rewards. Yeah, that's intentional. Yeah. So that may actually be the optimal obelisk strat if you want to do that. The only nodes that the obelisk can't change are other obelisk nodes, and it also can't change checkpoints, and it also can't change the start node. Those are the only node types that it can't change, but it can change visited nodes, etc. All right, so we've got our composed ability list provider. Let's make this private list composed abilities. Oh, not read only. Public list base composed abilities, get composed abilities. We'll return a new list out of here. Okay, so in the alchemy absorbability, let's just do get random ability. Then we're going to do if. So bar composed abilities. If composed abilities dot count is equal to 0, we'll just return matthewtil.rng.rand I range 0, composed abilities dot count -1. Okay. I may need to change this. Do I need this absorbed ability? I don't think so. Let's just get rid of that for now. I will worry about this wording later. Okay, so giant mushroom spore. New alchemy absorbability. Query target provider. We'll just do this. query target provider dot query options is equal to actually no, dot query directions is equal to board dot board no, board inventory component dot query directions dot entire board query target provider dot query options. No, this needs to be adjacent. Actually, let's do something interesting. Let's just do right. Query options. I guess that's it. I guess that's it. I can get rid of this. Just trying to think very carefully about this. So this is going to have to work in the alchemy system as well, so I'm going to need to handle that case. I'm going to do something a little bit different here. Alchemy added ability dot to alchemy added ability. We're going to do var random ability is equal to this. Then we're going to do return new alchemy added ability random ability dot duplicate. So that's going to transform into this. Okay, let's just put something. Absorbs and let's do a random ability from a card to query target provider dot to query string. This could probably be clearer, but let's just see how that works. And let's also just put this giant mushroom spore here. I just beat the playtest in one attempt. It should be a little harder, I think. Yeah, we're gonna do some balancing for sure. I think I'm gonna nerf poison. I'm probably also gonna nerf shield, because right now shield lasts indefinitely. It's one of the few statuses that does not have like a duration on it. So I may nerf shield quite a bit, and then also I think poison. One thing that I'm gonna do for poison to nerf that is, I don't know. Right now it ticks every turn. I may change it so that it ticks like every 3 turns or something. We'll see. We will see. Bleed. I might have to tweak bleed as well. I gotta think very carefully. I don't want to throw the whole balance out of whack necessarily. But anyway, absorbs a random ability from that's not right. All right, well, maybe I just won't use that query string then. Oh, I probably want this to be an adjacent card to the right. And then this. Right or query directions dot adjacent. So it needs to be adjacent right. Does that work together? I hope so. Let's take a look. This is going to be actually a really hard one. I mean, we're not even into the meat of this functionality yet. I'm just setting up the required abilities for this. Oof. So adjacent right doesn't work. So that's not correct. So I can't do right adjacent together. All right, I'm gonna have to think about that one as well. Figure out how to get right adjacent working. So I think the problem right now is if I have multiple query directions, it does all of the above, right? So it's like it's adjacent or cards to the right. But if I wanted to say it has to be adjacent and to the right, then that doesn't currently work. So I almost need it to be like, instead of an and, or no, instead of an or, right? Instead of it being adjacent or to the right, it needs to be adjacent and to the right. So that's probably going to require some tweaks, or not probably, it is going to require some tweaks to my board querying functionality to get it to work. The way I'm envisioning it is I just go into like these query options here, and I could do something like public bool is and join or something like that. It is direction and join, something like that. And then I need to change the logic so that instead of checking each of those flags individually, it checks that all of the flags are present for a given cell, or all the flags are applicable to a given cell. I think that should be easy. I think what I need to do probably is just get all of the cells that are like in the or set, so adjacent or to the right. And then once I have all of those cells, if I have that and flag set, then I just do an exclusion where I say, okay, or an intersection of the sets where I say, take the intersection of this set and this set together, and that's the result. I think that's what I would have to do. Who knows, man? Who knows? Anyway, figure it out. One thing at a time. So that was the easy part, believe it or not. The hard part now is getting this to work in the Alchemy Manager, because right now what it does is it strips all of the reagent cards out. So I should probably actually do this real quick. So this is a reagent. So we want to tag that as a reagent. And then, oh shoot. So non-reagent input cards, this is what it's doing. But I want to exclude, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this. So right now reagents can't be outputs of the alchemy system, but the spore has to be an output when it contains the absorbability. So I could add a flag on the base card that says force this as an alchemy output. That's not actually going to work though, because it's going to be conditional. So this giant mushroom spore should be consumed when you use it after it has already absorbed an ability. If it has not yet absorbed an ability, then it needs to not be consumed. It needs to be present as an alchemy output with the absorbed ability on it. How do I want to do that? This could be interesting. I might just want to maintain a different piece of data. So if I say, let's see, non-reagent input cards. I mean, there's a number of ways to do this. I'm just trying to think of like, what is the best way to do it? Maybe I do something like private list base card reagent output overrides. Reagent output overrides is equal to adjusted input cards where alchemy absorbability.any to list. So we just check if any of them have the alchemy absorbability. Okay. So that's going to give me all the spores that have not absorbed an ability, but there needs to be a step in here where I actually do absorb that. So I need to basically reach into here and call to alchemy added ability. So we have the reagent output overrides. We have the input card here. So this get alchemy output data. Maybe I want to do something like private list base card additional card outputs, something like that. And then what I can do in here is inside of, where is this? Get alchemy output data base card. So yeah, I want to do something like, I don't know. If reagent output overrides dot contains card alchemy output data card. Do I want to do that here? Ah, shoot. Because the legendary is still going to be... Okay, maybe I want to do this as a separate step then. Maybe this is just like the normal step, which is being called up here, get randomized output. So maybe what I want to do is I want to do for var I equals 0, I is less than... reagent, maybe I'll just do reagent output overrides dot count I++. Probably what I want to do in here is maybe I have like a handle reagent override or something. So we could do private base card handle reagent override. So I'm just making sure that the board inventory here is not being cleared, because the inventory state of the alchemy board is going to need to be necessary for getting one of those absorbed abilities. So when I do set alchemy output cards, resize board and place cards. Where is it actually clearing the alchemy board in here? Is it doing that anywhere? Reset state, clear board. Handle pressed. Oh, maybe it's not clearing the board state at all until it does the reset. Interesting. Hold on a second. Resize board and place cards. Set board dimensions. Oh, I see. When I call set board dimensions, it's clearing the board there. So this alchemy board state, that's actually probably not a good thing. I don't know if set board dimensions should be clearing it. I mean, the easy fix is just to rename that to clear and set board dimensions. So it's clear that that's what that's doing. But anyway, doesn't matter. So the board state should be preserved all throughout this alchemy process. So what I can do then is I can, inside of this alchemy manager, handle reagent override. I mean, this is not going to be super scalable, but we're going to try it. Base composed ability dot first or default X is alchemy absorb ability. If absorbability is not equal to null, then what we're going to do in here is we're going to say, so base card is equal to card factory create card blah blah blah, input card, base card dot clear composed abilities, base card dot add composed abilities, absorbability.get random, as alchemy absorbability. Get random, what the heck? Is that not public? Oh, to alchemy added ability. To alchemy added ability. bar card, additional card is equal to handle reagent override. If additional card is not equal to null. I don't think I need this additional card outputs actually anymore. Get rid of that. Well, that's not the cleanest thing in the world, but because these alchemy abilities are so specific in how they work, I almost need to handle each case individually. But at least what this does is this gives me a way to output a reagent that's been modified, I think. Let's just see if this works. I've been pulled into meetings all morning. Oh, sorry, Chris. Sorry. Still better than my morning, yeah. Anyway. Let's see. So absorbs a random ability from adjacent card. And here's the thing. I don't have any cards that I can actually absorb from. So I do this and I do that. Let's see if it works. Adds the following abilities a guaranteed alchemy output to allied cards. Apply 6 fire. Look at that. So now I grab this. So that's been absorbed. And then I can put this with my fungus. Look at that. Apply 6 fire. Oh my gosh, did that actually work? Hee, look at that. That's pretty cool. Alrighty. Did that actually work? I feel like that was a little bit too straightforward. I feel like that was too straightforward. Project. Let's try the Medusa head. Now I know you're a real developer. That was too easy. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Hello, Trayson. Welcome. Hey, I pop in and out of the stream, but I would want to say I'm impressed with how the game is turning out. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's going well. It's just there's still a lot of work to do, but we'll get there. The only thing standing between this game and release is time. So let's see if this gets anything. Applies 4 turns of paralysis to 2 random enemy minion cards. Put that in there. Wow, look at that. There you go. Well, some more little tools for you to do. Now, as far as if this is going to be the only reagent that can absorb abilities, I don't know, maybe. Maybe there will be another one that I can do, but yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So you'll get a spore after each combat, and then you'll be able to just take abilities onto that spore and put it elsewhere. I think that'd be really cool. Well, I do like this kind of thing though, where like there are certain cards that you can only get. You can't get them from the loot table. Actually, now that I think about that, I have to exclude this from the loot table. So that doesn't drop in the alchemy, or the reagent event rather. You just know people are going to make busted builds with this. Yeah, that's true. But hey, that's why I think it's kind of like, it's kind of nice that you have to have this Fungus Giganticus. And by the way, that ability actually, Giant Mushroom. I need to make sure that this is not alchemizable. Oh, can I not put that in here? Oh wait, it's in the basic, I closed my Giant Mushroom. Do I not have a way of setting this is alchemizable? Okay, so I actually don't have a way of making sure that the giant mushroom ability is not alchemizable in the way that I've set it up. So if I were to do this, if I were to go into the game here and alchemize the giant fungus with something, I would be able to get that ability onto a different card, which is not the way I want it to work. So if I do this with the skeleton mage, I should get, yeah, awards a fungus gigantus spore card after combat victory. So that can't be a valid alchemy input. But I currently don't have a way of doing that. So we're going to fix that. I think that should be relatively easy, but who knows? I think what I need to do in here is this ability configuration. We're going to do public bool is alchemizable, get init, and we're going to set this equal to true by default. And then in my composed ability here, I can just override this, I think. So I could do public override void is alchemizable. I think that's what I can do. So now I can pass the is alchemizable flag into the composed ability construction here. And I may actually just move these things up here. All these Boolean properties should be grouped together. I think that's right. Base composed ability, duplicate internal. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so now let's just see if this works. So if I go to my giant mushroom here, what do I need to do? I need to set this is alchemizable equal to false. All right, let's see if that works. Oh, here's a good question. Oh yeah, I need to handle this actually. Alchemy absorbability. So this 2 alchemy added ability could be null. So I think what I need to do is in my alchemy manager, I need to handle that. If absorbed ability is not equal to null, then we'll do this. Okay, so I just need to handle that. And this is absorbed ability. All right, we'll try that. Although now I can actually I think I'm gonna actually absorb a Ward of Fungus Gigantus support card. Yeah, so I actually need to make this 2 alchemy added ability. Get composed abilities dot where. Where x dot is alchemizable. Okay. So those two things together should work. So now what I should see is that since there's only one ability here and this is trying to copy an invalid ability, yeah, I don't get that out. Okay, perfect. All right, so we still need to add more. What was I gonna test? I think we obviously need to add more abilities to the giant mushroom. So we're gonna do that next. But let me just see if this works still. There we go. Awesome. Cool. That's pretty cool, actually. Can the spore absorb the ability from the mushroom itself? It could, but we just fixed that, so we're good. Obviously, I'm going to need to indicate to the player too which abilities are like not alchemizable. So yeah, there's a bunch of like weird edge cases in here that I'm going to have to try to communicate to the player. I think what I'll do is I'll just mark, maybe what I'll call is I'll call them like innate abilities, and then innate abilities will just be abilities that can only exist on that card and will not be alchemized or copied or absorbed or anything. And that can all be explained in like the encyclopedia or whatever. Or what I could do is I could, instead of doing like a different icon, I could just put like the word innate in front of it. And then I could use that as an ability explanation. I could say innate abilities are abilities that cannot be alchemized or cannot be transferred onto other cards. Maybe that's what I'll do. Yeah, let me write that down actually. Innate tag with ability explanation. Innate abilities cannot be transferred to other cards via alchemy. Something like that. So we'll put like an innate, color tag on it, and then we'll add that as an ability explanation. So that way when you open the card inspector, you'll see, what does innate mean? And then innate means, oh, it's, whatever, can't be alchemized. I think that will work. Now the trick is, I want to be able to add that based on that is alchemizable flag. So I can probably just append that or prepend that to the ability description text. That should work. What if there's a super rare item that allowed you to transfer innate abilities anyway? Yeah, we could do that. Like, always exceptions to the rule, right? So it could say, hey, this reagent can absorb an innate ability. So it like overrides the typical innate behavior. Innate, that is something I was asking about before, to add big cards to make them more appealing to use. Glad to see them coming into the game. Yeah, I mean, they already exist in the game to a large extent. They already exist in the game, like with the Hellspawn egg and some other places where, but I just haven't like surfaced that. Like I haven't surfaced the fact that there are these certain kinds of abilities that can't be alchemized, but with this system that should be fixed. And then yeah, I can add like innate abilities that are combat oriented as well. So yeah, we could definitely do something like that. Yeah, innate abilities on large cards probably is a good way of making large cards more appealing, so you can't just like alchemize them down. So yeah, I'll have to think about that some more, but I think that's a good way to go for sure. It just adds another layer of strategy onto it. This game is just going to be layers upon layers upon layers of strategy, I guess, which is good. Anyway, so we need to come up with some actual abilities for the giant mushroom. So I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when we come back, we're going to try to figure out what abilities those should be. Get mushroom spore working. I'm really liking this giant mushroom card, though. I think this is cool. I like doing these kinds of unique cards that have a sort of different behavior than what you'd typically expect from cards in this game. So that's a lot of fun. But anyway, help me think of some abilities that you want to see actually on the giant mushroom card. Like, it can't just spawn spores. It needs to also do some other stuff, too. Poison, I guess, is an obvious one. Maybe healing would be appropriate. It could scale based off of, like, alchemized cards. Do I already have something that scales off of alchemized cards? I think the Witch Hut, right? Oh, no, the Witch Hut scales off of non-alchemized cards, I think. Yeah, scales off of non-alchemized cards. So we have a lot of options. We have a lot of ways that we can approach the giant mushroom ability. Do you work on the game when you're not streaming? Yes, I do. Yeah, I worked on the game for several hours yesterday afternoon before I did the bonus stream. So yeah, I'm spending most of my afternoons working on the game as well. So yeah, development does not only happen on stream. But anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, like I said, and then when I come back, we'll put some actual abilities on the giant mushroom. All right, I'm back. It's so satisfying watching you add new stuff. Excited to get to that point for myself. Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, once you can get to the point where you can reasonably add new content to your game with relatively little difficulty, game development becomes really fun at that point. What's not so fun is like the earlier stages where you're constantly adding stuff and you constantly got to change the code. I mean, that can be fun too, but I definitely like the situation that I'm in right now with my ability system, where basically any ability that I want to add to the game either already has the building blocks in place to support it or requires very minimal changes to get it to work. And so yeah, it's a lot of fun. Obvious path for the mushroom is adding poison, but there are probably enough items with that already. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm concerned about. Maybe I should have thought about that before I drew a giant mushroom, but maybe it gets increased damage if there's a corpse or some other gross thing underneath or around it, much like actual mushrooms that tend to grow around nutrient-rich objects in the ground. Okay, that is an interesting idea. Yeah, we could do something like that. Let's think about that. Is this the giant mushroom stream? It is. Welcome, Tempura Cat Games. Or the spores take control of enemy cards and make a random card deal damage to another enemy card. We're about at that point too. It's very fun. Still need to add status effects though. Nice. I kind of like, I mean, let me think. Let's go to the giant mushroom. I think status effects will really help with being able to make actual builds. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, status effects are a good way to do that. So we wanted to scale off of maybe something below it. Let's take a look at my tags. Minion ritual weapon. Let me think. So scale off of cards below it. Do I want to make it scale off of minions? Do I want to make it scale off of... How many ritual cards do I have? Card, statistics tool. 29 ritual cards, 23 alchemical, reagent, weapon. Maybe I can make it scale off of alchemical cards in some way. I wonder if I should rename this Hex debuff to Confused debuff. This is being applied by what? Ability Builder Hex, Voodoo Doll, Witch Hut. I wonder if I should rename this to Confuse instead and then add it to the mushroom. Oh, I just realized something. Oh, that's paralysis. Hex. Wonder if I should change that to confuse and then add it to the mushroom. Maybe I'll do that. What if there was a small mushroom card that cloned itself to adjacent empty slots in your board after combat victory? They could scale in power with number, but incentivize leaving the slots empty. Empty slots is a good idea for sure. Something that scales off of empty slots. I mean, we could even make the mushroom do that. I've been kind of wary of adding cards to the board directly. That's why I have the card overflow system. I guess I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I'm not opposed to adding like temporary cards either that get spawned on your board and then disappear after combat. I mean, it's a possibility. I've just been kind of like wary of adding that for a couple of reasons. One idea I have is the fungus controlling cards below it like zombies, unifying their turn cooldown so they all act at the same time. Oh, interesting. That's a cool one. Maybe selecting the lowest one, IDK, if that would be OP. Possessed. Yeah. Project healing onto minions. Maybe the flavor here is that the mushroom keeps them alive. That could work too. These are all good ideas. I kind of want to rename this to Confusion, though. I think I do want to do that. So let's rename Hex Debuff. Let's just go ahead and do that. Hex Debuff, rename, Confuse Debuff. Rename that there. Confuse Debuff. I'm going to change this to Confuse Debuff. Confused. Are you serious? Unexpected false file protocol conversions. Confused cards convert self damage dealt into self damage. Confuse. Okay, let's look for hex. Confuse. Debuff. Why is this not working? Come on, rename the symbol. Don't make me unplug you. I will. Thank you. Confuse. Base confuse count. Confuse. Okay, so I think I replaced all instances of that. I want to change this though, ability builder dot confuse. Let's do int base confuse count is equal to 1. Get rid of this. Limit is equal to base confuse count. Okay, that should work. So then I can do giant mushroom confuse 3. Okay, so we've got that. Let's do something that scales based off of maybe like an empty slot or minions. Maybe we could do healing. I wish I knew how many healing abilities I had, but let's do var heal equals new composed ability. We'll just give it like a whole hodgepodge of different abilities. Dynamic heal, new heal 0, query target provider of dynamic heal, get heal scaler, base heal. Let's see if that works. Cordyceps fungus essentially mind controls ants and turns them into zombies, so manipulating other cards could be a good thematic element. Yeah, that's true. That's metal, yeah. Heal 3 for each allied minion card. Confuse 3 random enemy cards that deal damage. And then maybe we'll give it an ability where if there's an empty spot below it. What should it do if there's an empty spot? Maybe we can give it a turn cooldown reduction. I like the idea of like synchronizing the turn cooldowns of different cards. But that's going to require a little bit of effort, I think. But maybe I'll write that down. Synchronize turn cooldowns of multiple cards. Actually, maybe we could do something like that. Maybe we could do something like take this card's turn cooldown and make the cards below it have that turn cooldown. So it's like projecting its turn cooldown onto the other cards. How hard would that be? How hard would that be? This is not used anymore. Turn cooldown modifier. So we've got get turn cooldown. How would I do that? I don't know how to do that. So right now my turn cooldown modification is just a series of individual modifiers that don't affect each other in any way, and they just all get added up. But the tricky part is that if I want to take the mushroom's turn cooldown and set other cards' turn cooldown equal to the mushroom, I almost need like an override. I basically need to say, like, I don't know how it should work. Like, let's say that I have a card below the mushroom that has an enchant that reduces turn cooldown by 1. Should that turn cooldown should that enchant still work if I'm saying cards below the giant mushroom have a turn cooldown equal to the giant mushroom's turn cooldown? Do I do that before I apply any additional turn cooldown modifications to it? In other words, do I just override the base turn cooldown? But then there's kind of like a weird situation too. Like if I have turn cooldown modifiers on the fungus, I need to take the modified cooldown, so the base cooldown plus all the modifiers, and then I need to take that value and set that to the base cooldown of the cards that it's supposed to be affecting, so that the base cooldown is like the number that it starts at, and then any other additional turn cooldown modifications for the other cards kick in after that. I think that's how it should work, right? Maybe you could find the neighbor with the lowest cooldown and apply that to other neighbors. Yeah, something like that. I was thinking about just taking the mushrooms cooldown and putting it onto other cards. Definitely need a chat thank you message in the credits for all these great ideas. Yeah, for sure. Do you have a high-level diagram? Myself, I don't work on a game for 1 week. I have no idea where everything is and how stuff interacts. No, I don't. I don't have any diagrams or documentation. Nope. So I almost need to set like a base turn cooldown override. But that needs to be placed on other cards. Get contextual composed abilities. How is that going to work? So I almost need like a, yeah, I need like a base turn cooldown override. Maybe the thing to do is to change the base turn cooldown. So, shoot. Okay, well, let me just do this real quick. So almost what I need is I need like a, I need base card, public int, base turn cooldown override, something like this. Now there's another question too, which is that, what if I have multiple cards that are all overriding the base turn cooldown? What do I do then? But we don't have that situation yet, so we don't need to worry about it necessarily. Okay, reset non-combat modifiers. Base turn cooldown override is equal to null. Okay, and then we go to get base, get turn cooldown. This is going to be base turn cooldown override, or defaulting to base turn cooldown. So I think that's right. But now the question is, how do I actually get that onto other cards? Maybe I just do this. Public void set base turn cooldown override. Var turn cooldown override. New non-combat composed ability. One second. Actually, I might want to do this. I don't really know. Let me think. Tag projector. So this, I think this approach that I'm taking is going to work. So maybe we'll just do this real quick. New Lambda ability, what the heck? Var query target provider is equal to new query target provider. Query target provider dot query options dot directions is equal to board inventory component dot query directions dot down. I think I need another ability in here. Create new file. Base turn cooldown override. Namespace game.data.ability. Public class base turn cooldown override. Base card ability. This is I non-combat ability. I don't know if I actually need that. Maybe I don't need that. So we need the query target provider in here. Okay, and then we're going to do for each var target card in query target provider get cached targets. Target card that set base turn cooldown override. So I need to be able to do int cooldown override, something like that. I have it read only int cooldown override. This dot cooldown override is equal to cooldown override. Something like that, and then would do var cooldown override is equal to new base turn cooldown override. We're gonna do can I just do get turn cooldown in here? Does that work? No, that's not gonna work. I think I need to provide a function in here. Cooldown override func. Okay, and then we pass in the abilities here. Query target provider, we could do card data provider here. Scaling func, we're just not going to make it not scale. Okay, we'll have to come up with a description as well, but let's do turn cooldown override here. Sets the turn cooldown of I don't know if that language is appropriate, but let's see if that works. Let's see if that works. Just wanted to drop by and say hello and thank you. Thanks to one of your courses, I got into game dev, and soon, hopefully, I'm launching my first game. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Thank you. Milo. Very much appreciate that. Your game is one of the most interesting concepts I've seen recently. Fingers crossed for you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind. Sets the turn cooldown of allied cards below equal to this card's turn cooldown. Okay, well, that is not working. And I have some debugger errors. The method or operation is not implemented. Oops. Okay, that would explain that. Result dot union with get cells and columns cell. Okay. I think I just do this. Okay. Let's see if that works. I didn't implement the down direction yet, I guess. I guess I don't have anything that just goes purely down. It's kind of interesting. Oh, look at that. Look at that. They're 15. The turn cooldowns are 15. And if I move this now over here, those should be returned. Now, I don't have a down arrow for each allied minion card. What is going on here? That grid indicator is wrong. Did I break my grid indicators? Sets the turn cooldown of allied cards below equal to this card's turn cooldown. So let's see. All right, well, let's just see if that works. I think it should work. So this is setting the base cooldown override. So that means that if I have enchantments or whatever on this thing that further reduce the turn cooldown, that will be applied. So, and then if I change the turn cooldown of this with like an enchant, for example, that should also be the same. Interesting. All right, well, there's some alchemy bait for you. We got to update the grid indicator. I'm just going to let the AI finish that and then see if that actually works. I didn't even check it. I just want to see if it did it for me. Oh, this needs to be flipped vertically though. I guess this is the first card that I have that can target things to the bottom of it. Yeah, look at that. So we got 2 arrows here showing that. So that works. I don't know why this one is not working. Heal 3 for each allied minion card. Why is that grid indicator not working? Standalone cells. I wonder, maybe I just broke it. Hold on a second. Oh. Query target provider query options query directions is equal to board inventory component query directions entire board. I forgot to set that. That's probably why it was broken. Okay, now it works. So we've got all those things lit up now. Sets the turn cooldown of allied cards below equal to this card's turn cooldown. Very cool. So obviously the next thing to try is, let me stage this. So that wasn't, I guess that wasn't too terrible. This base turn cooldown override is probably going to need to change, because like if I have a situation where multiple base turn cooldown overrides are acting together, I guess I need to figure out what to do about that situation, but it's probably okay for now. So let's go to my run manager. For each var card in starting cards, card.add enchant, new turn cooldown enchant. So let's just make sure this works. So what I should see is, so the giant fungus, the giant mushroom is going to have a turn cooldown of 14, but then any card that it is below it will have a turn cooldown of 13, because those cards will have their base turn cooldown set to the modified turn cooldown of the fungus, but then their own turn cooldown modifications will take effect afterwards. So I should see 14, 13, 13 if I go down the left column here. 14, 14, 14. Son of a biscuit. Put a breakpoint here. Oh, I see. I think what's happening here, yeah, so that makes sense. What's happening is when I add an enchant to a card, I don't think that it's re-triggering an update. So if I go to add enchant, it's just doing that, emit signal, enchantment, and add it. So I actually need to do this whole process again, I think. Update board state contingent abilities. So the problem is when I add an enchant to a card, it's not triggering that board state contingency update, which is fine because you're never going to notice that in the game because you can only put one card in the enchant grid. And then when you move it back into your inventory, it's going to trigger with all the updates. So it's only really going to be a problem when I'm adding it like this, although it would still be nice to have added enchantments. It would still be nice to have added enchantments trigger that update. But I actually don't know how to do that because the way that the board state contingent updates works is that it actually goes through the board manager. And what the board manager does is it gets all the cards on the board and then it does each of these loops separately. So it resets all the combat modifiers, it applies the tag modifications, and it applies the rest of the abilities. And if you remember, if you were around for the stream, that was for the Acolyte, right? Because that was to solve the problem where a non-tag ability that scales off of ritual would get applied or updated before the ritual tag was able to be projected to the card by the Acolyte. So the fix was to just do these as discrete steps. So we do the cards first, we apply the tag modifications, and then we do all of the ability updates. So I need this function essentially to be invoked whenever the enchantments change so that it redoes all of that calculation. But I don't know if it's actually worth doing right now because like I said, I don't have a situation in the actual game where you could add an enchant without also having to update the board state by moving a card around. So if I just go into the game here, so I'll see 15, 14, 14. So 15 or 14, 14, 14. But if I take this and I put this back, these will say 13 now because that's properly updated now. So it's just the adding of the enchant doesn't trigger that update. But I guess it doesn't really matter. Maybe I'll just add that as something to note in the backlog here. So let's just do enchant. Adding enchants does not immediately trigger board state contingent ability updates. For example, so we'll have to figure that out. But like I said, it's not an immediate issue, so we don't need to spend time on that. Okay, and then the last thing I should probably test is just make sure that it's actually doing the healing now. And the confusion, I guess. So I'm just going to put this guy here. Let's make sure that it's doing the heal and it's also doing the confusion. Okay, it is healing. Cool. All right. That is a pretty cool card. I like that card. It's got a couple of interesting abilities. Might be interesting to have a reagent that can add random enchants to the result. Yeah, that would be interesting. Played the game yesterday, had fun with it. One thing I noticed for myself, I really had trouble reading the sell and stash text in the left border. Okay, yeah, we could change that. We could change that for sure. I think somebody else made a comment about that too when I first did it. So let's do sell and stash text in inventory is not readable enough. Look at all these freaking things I have to do. Anyway. Okay, I think that's cool. That was a very, very cool card, I think. Finalize. Giant mushroom abilities. So it's not done yet. I still have some wording to fix, and I need to add the flavor text and all that stuff. But the abilities are done. That abilities is done. Figure out how to get right. So there's more work that needs to be done here, but that's all right. Okay. So like I said, that was just kind of like a tangent. I'm always open to adding new content. Like I don't need to just focus on building the new systems because I am, like I said, I want to target like 300 to 400 player cards for the release of the game. That should give a whole lot of variety. And of course, you know, depending on how the game goes, if the game sells well, I'm definitely going to be interested in adding even more content. Like, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that this game could have 1,000 player cards in it, you know, but that would be a lot to do for release. But I want to give the players a lot of different tools, a lot of different abilities to play with, and make sure that that's all good and intriguing enough for a release version of the game. What else? Still have to work on these systems. Meta progression is sort of the thing that I'm focused on right now. Probably will do a lot of that work off stream just because it's kind of boring. It's just like straightforward coding stuff, but we got a lot of big systems to work on. And I'm going to try to work as quick as possible so we can have another playtest in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, anyway, that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. I may stream later this afternoon, so keep an eye on the Discord for an announcement if that happens. You can wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. Also, the playtest is still available, so anyone can join. You just click this request access button here. Give it a try. Let me know what you think in the Discord, and appreciate any and all feedback. Thank you to everyone who has already played it as well. That's very much appreciated. And of course, thank you for just being here, watching my progress, sending me ideas, all that good stuff. That's very much appreciated. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Again, keep an eye on the Discord to see if I go live later today. Otherwise, I'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.